So you got the perfect plant. You brought it home, you put it in the perfect spot, you got the perfect lighting conditions, everything is ready. Now the question is,
should I bottom water? I'm Yvette Boone. I'm a lifelong creative hobbyist, and I've been a plant mom for at least 20 years or more. So I got a couple of tips that I want to share with you. And one of them is about bottom watering. So the answer to your question is absolutely, I think you should bottom water. So you might be asking, what is bottom watering? Bottom watering is the act of pouring water in some sort of reservoir and allowing the medium in your plant to wick that water up, right? So whether you have an airy soil with bark and, perlite, and clay balls, leca balls, it will wick the water up. Even if you have a wick in your dirt and it falls through one of the holes in the bottom of your pot, that will wick the water up and do the same thing. So a plant needs to have holes in the bottom of, or at least somewhere in the bottom portion. I think it works best if you have a hole somewhere near the bottom of the plant. So I have two methods or two ways that I like to bottom water. One is I bottom water by using a cover pot, right? So this is a cover pot. This is the pot, and this is another tip. This is a pot that I use to put my nursery pots in. These are cute. These are not, right? These come with the plant. These I can switch out. If the plant dies, I don't need to clean this and all this other stuff. I could just throw this out, right? So this plant, you put water in here, you set this down in here, and you allow it to wick up the water. That's method number one. Method number two is you take this plant, you have another reservoir, you pour the water into the reservoir, and you sit the plant in there and allow it to wick up the water. That's method number two. I use both these interchangeably, but I will admit that I think using the external reservoir is better for me because I tend to forget things. One of the cons in using the bottom watering method is that sometimes you will forget that that plant is sitting in water. And if that is the case and you overwater that plant, it's really hard to bounce back from overwatering a plant. It's definitely a con of this method. However, I have found that when I water with an external, meaning that I've taken my plant out of its cover pot and I put it in another pot or another external reservoir to water it, that is the best method for me. Another con would be that it takes a long time. It's not a quick method, right? You don't just pour water in the bottom, set the pot down, go pick up another one, put that one back. It doesn't work that way. You have to let it give it time for the medium to siphon the water up. So it may take 30 minutes. It may take a couple of hours, right? I would never leave a plant in overnight. If I needed to leave a plant in overnight to give it enough time to siphon, I have a trick for that, but I wouldn't do that. Like leaving it in overnight is just room for disaster. I would not do that. One of the other cons, a lot of people feel like you need to flush your dirt every so often, right? That as you water your plants, you have these minerals that get left into your dirt and you need to flush them out. I also have a tip for that too, but that can be alleviated in another step, right? So yes, we're wicking water up, but you can always flush those out later. You don't need to flush every time you water your plant. If you are an overwaterer and you have not mastered when your plant needs to be watered, and you kind of just shooting off the cuff, like maybe it need to be watered, I'm gonna just go ahead and water it, this is gonna lead to overwatering. You don't want that. I think one of the pros is for overwaterers and underwaterers, which is crazy, right? But if you are an overwaterer or an underwaterer, the way that bottom watering helps you is that it eliminates all of the questions. So for me, I was definitely an overwaterer. They tell you when you water your plant, you should water it and allow the water to come through. Well, I'm watering it and the water is coming right through. And I'm like, well, this is happening, but clearly this plant is not watered. For me, allowing the plant the plant's medium to soak up all the water that it wants means that I don't have to question that. I don't have to question whether it was underwatered or overwatered, because I know it got all the water that it needed because it only takes what it needs, right? So that's a definite pro in my opinion. Another pro is that, like I said, the plant gets what it needs. It only sucks up the amount of water that it needs, and everything else gets left in the reservoir. Another one is I get to watch it wick up the water. I don't know why this is a simple pleasure of mine, but it is. It just feels like I'm doing something right. I give it water and it just drinks and it's so happy, and I love it. So it's a simple pleasure. Some people might not find that enjoyable at all, but I just think it's the bee's knees. And another pro is that I get to water more than one plant at one time. I can have 5 or 6, especially if I have a large reservoir, right? I can do 5 or 6 plants at one time, and I don't have to worry about water getting spilled on my shelving, or water running off of a leaf and falling down behind. Now, I have a lot of different plants, and I don't have a plant in my collection that does not benefit from bottom watering. I have orchids, I have Hoyas, I have regular common houseplants, pothos, philodendrons. I haven't had any problems with my plants with bottom watering it. Oh, one of the things I did want to mention though is when to know when to take your plant out. So when you set it down, like I said, it's not a quick process. You take it out, you would lift the plant up to see if it has any weight to it, right? If it weighs the same as it did when you set it down, then it really probably hasn't soaked up a lot of water. Even if your plant is already heavy, if you've watered it thoroughly, it's going to be heavier. And so it should be heavier, right? That's one indication. 2, you can look at the dirt. If the dirt color has darkened, especially at the top. So this is another pro, is that as you water, you can tell when it's finished because the top of your soil is going to start getting moist. And you don't have to wait until it's completely moist. You can just once you start seeing the dirt get a little darker, or whatever medium, whether it's sphagnum moss or leca beads, whatever you're using, once you see it start getting dark, you can pull it out. One tip is that when you pull it out the water, you want to tilt it to the side and let it get all of the extra water out. I don't have any plants that don't benefit from bottom watering. I can water more than one plant at one time. Okay, so when I'm watering my plants and I have them in an external reservoir and I'm watering them all at one time, I don't forget to get my plants out of the water. I like to do it in the middle of the floor so that when I walk back in the room, I remember, oh yeah, that's right, you are watering your plants, pick them up. One of the cons that is sort of like, especially for my situation, is that when I move it off the shelf, sometimes I don't even remember which plant went where, right? So I'm moving my plants, I'm turning my plants are getting more circulation and different air. And so all of these things are really good for your plants. So to me, that makes it a bigger of a win. So I definitely have more pros than cons to bottom watering. I know at one point it was a big stir in the interwebs about bottom watering, and a lot of people don't like it. I find it to be a game changer for me because I stopped overwatering my plants when I started bottom watering. I will say that those plants that need to be watered every once a month, things like snake plants, and you might have to pour a little water at the top to kind of get the wickings, going. But other than that, they will pull up that water and they'll do what they need to do and only take what they need. And you just pull your plant out of the reservoir, put it back into your cover pot and keep it moving. It's perfect. So this tip helped you out at all, give me a like. If you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe, join the community so you can get more tips and tricks and you can be abreast of all my little shenanigans that I'll be doing. So thank you for watching this video. Have a great day. Bye.